What if I told you people are legally flying aircraft without a license for less than the price of a car? Flying used to mean money, training, and rules, but now cheap aircraft are making the sky feel open to almost anyone. And here's where it gets interesting. This didn't happen overnight. For years, flying has been locked behind two things: money and complexity. Traditional aviation is expensive, not save up for a year expensive, more like life-altering expensive. A regular helicopter alone can cost hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions. And that's before maintenance, fuel, hangar space. It just keeps stacking. Then comes the license. Training hours, certifications, exams. It's not just learning to fly, it's committing to a system. A long one, a complicated one. And honestly, for most people, that's where the dream just dies. But now, that barrier is cracking. People don't just want to travel anymore. They want freedom. Real freedom. The kind where you take off when you want, land where you can, and experience something raw and personal. Not airports, not queues, just sky. And social media poured fuel on this. You've probably seen it. Random clips of people lifting off from open fields, flying low over landscapes, no crowds, no terminals. It doesn't look like aviation. It feels like an escape. Then there's the DIY culture. That shift changed everything. Instead of buying finished aircraft, people started building them. Kits, parts, step-by-step assembly in garages, backyards, and small workshops. Suddenly, flying wasn't just a dream. It became something you could literally put together yourself. And that's when it clicked for everyone. This feels like a loophole. A space where the rules are lighter, the costs are lower, and the sky suddenly feels closer than ever. Wait, you're watching right now but not subscribed to the channel. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button so we can move on with the video. You did? Okay, cool. Now back to the video. But wait, this is where most people get it slightly wrong. No license doesn't mean zero rules, not even close. What it actually refers to is a specific category: ultralight aircraft. These fall under different regulations by country, and that's the key detail people miss. In some places, you don't need a formal pilot license, but the aircraft itself has strict limits. Weight is one of them. These machines are incredibly light. That's part of why they qualify. Then comes passenger limits. Most are single-seaters, sometimes two at most. This isn't commercial flying, it's personal. And where can you fly? That's controlled too. You're not just hovering over cities or airports. There are designated areas, open airspace zones, and rules you still need to respect. Then there's safety. From the outside, it looks simple. Take off, fly, land. But in reality, you're still operating an aircraft. Weather matters, wind matters, your decisions matter. So yeah, it's easier, but it's not effortless. And honestly, that balance is what makes it so fascinating. Now here's the part that really flips everything. These aircraft are cheap, but not by accident. First, size. They're small. Less material, less weight, less complexity. You're not dealing with massive airframes or heavy systems like traditional helicopters. Then comes the engine. Instead of powerful, highly complex aviation engines, many of these use simpler setups. Still capable, still reliable, just not overbuilt for commercial-scale operations. But the biggest factor? They come as kits. You're not buying a finished machine, you're building it. That cuts manufacturing costs massively. No large-scale assembly lines, no expensive labor overhead, just parts and your time. Certification is another huge piece. Traditional aircraft go through extremely expensive approval processes. Ultralights? way less demanding in comparison. That alone drops the price dramatically. And avionics, the tech inside, is minimal. No advanced systems, no heavy instrumentation. Just what you need to fly. Now compare that to a full-size helicopter costing hundreds of thousands, even millions. Suddenly, this doesn't just feel cheap. It feels like aviation got unlocked. CH7 Compresso Charlie do. And this is where things start to feel unreal. The CH7 Compresso Charlie 2 doesn't look like something that should be this accessible. It comes out of Italy, designed with that same precision and simplicity you'd expect, but stripped down to its absolute essentials. This thing is ridiculously light. Not light for a helicopter, just light, period. And yet somehow it still manages to carry 2 people. That's the part that throws you off. You expect compromise, but it doesn't feel like one. Once it's in the air, it's not slow either. It cruises around 100 miles per hour and can climb high enough to make you forget how small it actually is. You're not just hovering, you're actually traveling. But here's the part that really messes with your head. It can be assembled in just a few hours. No massive workshop, no long build timeline. It's almost like putting together furniture, except when you're done, it flies. That shift alone changes how you look at aviation. And then comes the price, around $10,000. That's where it stops feeling real, because at that point you're not comparing it to aircraft anymore. You're comparing it to cars, bikes, even gadgets. So the question is, if something this simple can get you in the sky, what's been stopping people all this time? CH77 Ranabot. But if that felt too minimal, this is where things start getting serious. The CH77 Ranabot takes everything from that entry-level idea and pushes it into something that actually feels like a real helicopter. Still lightweight, still in that ultralight category. But now with presence. First thing you notice? The enclosed cockpit. You're not sitting exposed anymore. You're inside a proper cabin, side-by-side seating, controls in front of you. It feels closer to traditional aviation, like you've stepped out of the experimental phase and into something more refined. And under the hood, it backs that up. It runs on a Rotax 914 engine, a name that keeps showing up in serious ultralight builds, reliable, powerful enough, and built for this exact kind of performance. And you feel it the moment it lifts. This thing can push up to around 130 miles per hour. Now you're not just flying for the experience, you're actually covering distance. That's a completely different mindset. It also carries more, better payload capacity, more room for a passenger, and a bit of cargo. It starts feeling practical, not just exciting. And that's the shift. This isn't just, look what I built in my garage. This is, I can actually use this. So, now the line between hobby and real aviation, it's starting to disappear. Konner K1.
Get out. Side copies all, go ahead.
And just when you think you've seen the limit, this is where things take a serious turn. The Konner K1 doesn't feel like a compromise anymore. It feels premium, the kind of machine that makes you pause for a second before even stepping in. Clean lines, sharp build, and that carbon fiber body, not just for looks, but for strength and weight balance. You can tell this wasn't built just to be cheap. It was built to perform. And then there's the engine, a 250 horsepower turboshaft. That's not a small jump. That's a completely different league. The moment this thing lifts, it's not playing around. It pushes up to 160 miles per hour, which at this size feels fast, really fast. The kind of speed where the ground doesn't just pass by, it disappears. But what really stands out isn't just performance, it's confidence. Because this machine actually accounts for failure. If the main engine cuts out, there's a system that helps maintain rotor movement, reducing the chances of a catastrophic drop. That changes how you think about flying it. It's not just thrilling, it feels engineered to protect you when things go wrong. And that's the shift right here. This is where ultralight stops feeling experimental and starts feeling serious. So now the question isn't, can this fly? It's, how far can you actually take this? Dynali H3 Sport. But not everyone wants speed and intensity, and that's exactly where this one fits in. The Dynali H3 Sport feels different the moment you look at it. It's not trying to be aggressive or extreme. It's built to be approachable, almost inviting. It's designed for someone stepping into this world for the first time. And that's exactly what it is. This helicopter is known for being training-friendly. Everything about it leans toward simplicity. The controls, the structure, even the way it handles in the air. It's not about pushing limits, it's about building confidence. Inside, you get that side-by-side seating with a wide bubble canopy, clear visibility all around, no guesswork, no blind spots, just a clean, open view of the sky. For beginners, that matters more than speed. Speaking of speed, it's not the fastest out there. But that's intentional. Lower speed means more stability, more control, more time to react. And when you're learning, that's everything. It's also versatile. Training, personal flying, even light utility use. It adapts without feeling complicated. That's rare. And that's why this one stands out. It's not trying to impress you with numbers, it's trying to make sure you actually enjoy flying. So if someone asked, where do I even start? This might be the easiest answer. SOR-7T Spirit Tandem. And just when you think these machines are only built for calm, easy flying, this one shifts the tone completely. The SOR-7T Spirit Tandem is built differently, starting with its seating. Instead of side-by-side, it uses a tandem layout, one behind the other. It instantly feels more focused, more streamlined, almost like it's designed with performance in mind first, comfort second. But the real story begins with the engine. This thing is turbocharged. And that matters more than most people realize, because once you start climbing higher, regular engines lose efficiency. Power drops, performance dips, but not here. This helicopter is made to handle altitude, so whether it's thinner air or tougher flying conditions, it keeps pushing without struggling. And that gives it a completely different personality in the air. Stronger, more capable, less fragile. Then there's the structure. It's built using high-quality steel, designed to handle stress without adding unnecessary weight. That balance, strength without bulk, is what makes it reliable when conditions aren't perfect. And that's the key difference. This isn't built just for smooth skies and short flights. It's built for when things get a little unpredictable. So if most ultralights feel like weekend machines, this one feels ready for more. Curti CH8. Not everything needs to be extreme to impress, and the Curti CH8 proves that. It hits the perfect balance, not too aggressive, not too basic, offering a clean, well-rounded experience. The carbon fiber body is light yet strong, keeping weight down while ensuring durability for real flying conditions. That translates to smooth, agile handling that responds naturally, not technically. Comfort is another standout, with wide doors, easy access, and a roomy interior that doesn't feel cramped. Efficiency ties it all together. Low operating costs, a solid range, and dependable performance. It's not the fastest or most powerful, but it works well in every situation. That balance, a little bit of everything without the downsides, is what makes it remarkable. Safari 400. And then there's this one, which feels less like a product and more like a project. The Safari 400 isn't just something you buy, it's something you build. We're talking around 500 hours of work in a garage with basic tools. That alone tells you exactly who this is for. Not someone looking for instant flying, but someone who wants to be part of the entire process. And there's something different about that. Because when you finally lift off in a machine you built yourself, it hits differently. Design-wise, it takes clear inspiration from the classic Bell 47. That old-school helicopter look, exposed frame, bubble canopy, it's all there. Simple, functional, and kind of timeless. But don't let that simplicity fool you. It runs on a 180 horsepower engine, which gives it solid performance in the air. Not overkill, not underpowered, just enough to make it reliable and capable for regular use. Then there's the cost side of things. Operating it comes out to roughly around $100 per hour. Compared to traditional helicopters, that's incredibly low. And that's the whole point. This machine isn't about luxury, it's about access. About taking something that used to be out of reach and putting it in your own hands. So yeah, it takes time, effort, patience. But for the right person, this isn't just flying, it's building your way into the sky. And when you step back and look at all of this is where it really hits. It's not just about helicopters, it's about control. No schedules, no airports, no waiting in lines while someone else decides when you can leave. You walk out, start the machine, and lift off on your own terms. That feeling alone, it's something commercial travel can't even come close to. And the craziest part? This isn't reserved for elites anymore. Regular people, people with normal jobs, normal lives, are stepping into aircraft they actually own. Not renting, not booking, owning. That shift changes everything. It turns flying from an event into a lifestyle. And once you're up there, it's different. The noise fades, the ground pulls away, and suddenly it's just you and the sky. No distractions, just movement, direction, freedom. That's the real appeal. It's not speed, it's not specs. It's the idea that flight, something that once felt impossible, is now sitting right within reach. This isn't a toy. Flying comes with real responsibility. Safety, maintenance, and skill matter. Every decision in the air counts, and weather can turn easy conditions into challenges. You must learn, practice, and care for your aircraft, handling fuel, repairs, and storage. It's not cheap or effortless, but that's what makes it thrilling. True freedom in the air isn't easy, and anything worth flying never is. Aviation isn't shrinking, it's shifting. What used to belong to a few is slowly opening up to everyone. And maybe this isn't just about helicopters. Maybe it's the beginning of something bigger. So what do you think? Is this the future of personal flight, or just the start?